Hola. Let's see what's happening with the lighting here today. I don't know. Huh. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. When I was growing up, I wanted to have five children, five of them. I'll tell you the story later on. But I wanted to have five kids, and I don't have any. And so today I want to have a chat about, let me see, what are we talking about? What having no kids looks like later in life. Yeah, let's chat about that. What does having no kids later in life look like? Um, my name is Annika. I am a Trini-born sage and oracle. I specifically want to talk about what having no kids later in life looks like for third culture folks, third culture women, in midlife, or maybe even in your 40s. But everybody's growing older, so let's see. And I came across this because I was watching. His channel is called One PTA, and he did a video. He's actually a physical therapist assistant, and he works with the elderly. So his channel is all about like the wisdom that he gets from these elders that he sees in nursing homes or at their homes, helping them with their physical therapy. And he did a video on because his clients talk to him, and some of them don't have kids, some of them have kids. So he did a video on what having no kids looks like later on in life. So that's what we're going to chat about today. All right. So, like I said, growing up, I wanted five, no, just five, not 10, five kids, five children. And I am 50 years old right now. I turned 50 this year in 2024. Yeah, I feel like I could put that on the internet. I look good though. I like it. That's what my dad looks like when he looks at me. Um, and I didn't. I don't have any children. So growing up in Trinidad, I grew up, I did not grow up middle class, but we acted like it. Um, we were a very well connected, educated family. We lived in the Northwest in Digger Martin, a moderate neighborhood. And in Trinidad, people move from well, when I was growing up, people move from their parents' house to their spouse's house, their husband's house. Women move from their parents' house to their husband's house. And the expectation was you go to school, you do well in school, you get good grades, you get a good job, and start a family. Like you meet someone, you get married, you have children. Sometimes you meet someone, you get pregnant, you get married, and then you have children. you know, in Trinidad also, a lot of times people so there's no concept of a mortgage. When I was growing up, like with credit was not a thing. And so there's no concept of like people just don't leave their parents' houses, right? People stay with their family of origin until they have the means to go out on their own. So even if let's see, even if you're married and you have kids, but you can't get a house, there's no renting per se. There was no going to moving into your own apartment type of thing. And so a lot of people stayed with their parents and then they would buy a house. My mom worked for the National Housing Authority at the time, so she had the in on getting a house. And I think like she insisted I'm moving out of my grandmother's house because whew, Lena was no joke. Um, so the culture is you grow up, you like I said, you go to school. If you're lucky, you go all the way through secondary school. If you're really, really bright, intelligent, you go to university. But really, people get married and have kids out of high school, pretty much. And so growing up, what I saw was my parents, that this, like all the adults around me, this was their life. I had some rebellion against that because I didn't want to like go from my parents' house to my husband's house. And so my way around that was going away to college. My growing up was complex. I call myself a third culture kid, but really I was born in Trinidad and moved here, but my parents were also born in Trinidad and moved here. And they sent us back to go to school. And then when I was in before 11th grade, I moved from Trinidad to the US because I knew that I wanted to go to college. I didn't want to have that direct move from the parents' house to my husband's house. I wanted to spend some time on my own. And I knew that I could do that if I went away to college, like it would be sanctioned, right? So, but I also wanted to have 5 children. So I came up here and I came up for 11th grade, right before 11th grade. In Trinidad, I was going into fifth form. If anybody's here is from the Caribbean or England and knows that system, I was going into fifth form at the time. But when I got here, I got into 11th grade, not 12th, which worked out well for me because it meant that I had 2 years. And I was young. I was 15 going into 11th grade. They wanted to keep me back. I had been doing calculus for 4 years. Well, two, mm, 2 years already because you start in form four. No, I was doing calculus for a year already because I did it in form four. So anyway, um, but I came up and I went to school. I got the good grades. And I got a full ride for school, so my parents couldn't argue with me. Like they couldn't say I couldn't go because they didn't have to pay for it. And, you know, we just made it that way. But I wanted 5 children because my favorite aunt and uncle, at the time that I left, they had 5 kids. And my aunt is really amazing. She is now she's the equivalent of a judge in Trinidad, and she has 9 children, and she's very deeply, deeply spiritual, health conscious. She's just amazing. And she was like so um zen. And so this is like in the 80s, before people were talking about law of attraction and all of that stuff. She was very, very attuned. And so she's like, I really, really looked up to her, and she had 5 kids. I wanted to be like her and follow that path. And but her life didn't revolve around her kids, but also because the culture is different. So people have children, but they are not the ones solely responsible for the children. So she had her mom and my grandmother, and then her sisters and my aunts and uncles, and like there's like a slew of people who are helping out with the kids. So it's not mean you get a lot of help, right? And so I did follow that path. I did go to school. I finished college. I went to grad school even, and I did get married to the person who I met my freshman year in college. And we got the house, and then we were supposed to have the kids. But, you know, America works a little bit different. So we had we'd moved to my family was in Miami and his family was in Florida. They had just moved from Fort Lauderdale to Ocala. But he and I moved from Miami to Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, I want you to imagine this back in 1999. I am a Trinidadian person. I like our food. I like our culture. My dad is a musician in a band, so I'm very much into like dance. I love dancing and the music and all of that stuff. And clips Trinidadian music, right? And I was in Miami, so Miami at the time was not nearly. as Caribbean as it is today. Today, Miami is like the Caribbean in America. It's just not even American. But they had moved from New York down to Miami, and Miami at the time wasn't so Caribbean, but it was definitely more Caribbean than Raleigh, North Carolina. Girl, I got some serious culture shock coming up here. And my thoughts of having 5 children went out the window. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way I'm having any children here." First of all, I was like, "We're here alone. It's just the 2 of us. Who's taking care of these children?" I was like, "No." But, I there was that, just the being here by itself. I was like, "There's no culture here." I just didn't understand. It was so strange because by that time I had been in the US for 9 years. You would think that I would be accustomed to American culture, but no, no, no. My first I was in Miami, which wasn't really uh, it was not Raleigh. It was not North Carolina. They got to North Carolina. I was like, no, no, no. My children cannot grow up like this. They can't like there's no culture. There's you don't walk down the street and hear music and dancing and people don't take time off and there's it's just us. Like we can't take care of kids, like 5 children. Plus I work all the time and I was a consultant at the time. So I traveled for work Monday to Thursday every week. And I was like, that is not gonna work either. And then I got into my career and I was like, oh, it's not happening. So I went from like 5 kids and then I went to 3. I never wanted to have only one child. I think like I don't want to, only children require your attention. Like they don't have friends and their siblings. So on top of us being by ourselves and the child not having any cousins, like no, 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 no way. So it went the thought went away. And then oh yeah, there was this time one Thanksgiving. We used to go to his grandmother's for Thanksgiving. And his mom came from a big family also, like my mom came from a big family. So his mom came from a family with 11 kids. And I kid you not, there were children there. There were at least 4 children representing each age group in each year, right? So there was like there were 2 newborns. One was like 3 months old. I think they were both like 3 months old. There were two like 3 months old. There were toddlers. There were, like the 7 to 9 year olds, the middle schoolers, the high schoolers. They had representation at every age. And I swear that was birth control. Like the next year, it's like, oh no, this is craziness. This is craziness. I think it reminded me of me being the caregiver, like the chosen babysitter. I was always in charge. I liked it. I liked it. But being there for that Thanksgiving, I don't know what happened. It flipped a switch in my mind, and that also contributed to the idea of 5 children. It's just not going to work out for me. So it's not like I intentionally started off not wanting children. I really, really wanted kids. Um, but a few things really changed the whole setup. I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then we got divorced, and I didn't have any kids by the time we got divorced, and so then I was just living my footloose and fancy free solo life. I I was in my 30s. I had finally um I had finally intentionally created my life the way that I wanted it to be and crafted it the way that I wanted to be, and children just were not in the picture at all. And I remember it took me a while to seriously date after that, but people will always ask me, well, do you want children? And I was like, I don't think so. I was like, if you really, really want children, we can have kids. But but now I'm 50 and that ship has sailed. And I am the one that's the caregiver for my parents. So one of the things I think about all the time is what's going to happen 20 years from now when I am 70 and I have no children. I do have two nieces and a nephew, but they have my brother and his wife, and also I'm they know me, but we're not very, very close. And um, I enjoy my solitude. So I am of two camps with this, right? On the one hand, I feel like I'm kind of sometimes I get very concerned and scared and like anxious, worried about my future because I feel like I could die alone in a house and no one will know. Also because I don't talk to people regularly, so that's going to be a problem. No, I have friends, so they'll find me. Eventually, they'll be like, "What? We haven't spoken to her in like a week, 10 days. What's going on?" But my friends are very scattered. They're all over the world, literally, and so and they're about to become all over the world even more. And so I'm like, what's gonna happen? Maybe I should have had those 5 children. But I was listening to this YouTuber, the physical therapist assistant uh, talk about his clients, and he said that the people they're in their 70s, 80s, 90s, cent- centurions, there's some 100-year-old folks, and they don't, they're very he said that they're very independent. They do things for themselves. They're not, they don't regret not having children. I think some of them may have said, they may have thought about it kind of like I am now, like, oh, I'm at that point where, I wonder 20 years from now, what is this going to look like? But he's like, at this point, they're fine and people are taking care of them. And also, the people with children have children problems. So, like, the children don't come see them, or they have to move with their kids, or the life that they thought that they would have in their homes is not, and giving their homes to their children is not a thing. So he was saying it's just it's different. And I could see that with my parents because I think my parents, they come from that time where they went from their parents' house to their spouse's house. They grew up in a culture that's extremely family oriented and it's extremely community focused where people look out for each other, they take care of each other. Your kids are always walking through your house, they're always passing through, coming for. I think my mom had in her mind the kind of life that my grandmother had, where her children came through in the evenings for food on their way from work to home. The kids were at my grandmother's house, so they would pass and pick them up and take them out. So there was constantly people coming through, right? My parents don't have that. It's just me and my brother doesn't pass through, and I am the one here. I don't. It's my house, so I don't need people passing through. I love my solitude, but my mom really she her idea of things is a little bit different. And so always I feel like as a third culture kid, I'm like caught between these worlds because I know that life in Trinidad and I know the benefits of that life in Trinidad, but I really enjoy the benefits of my life as as a single person, as I can create the life that I want. Everybody can create the life that they want, but I don't answer to anyone about the choices that I make. Well, now my parents, but generally speaking, I don't. I can do whatever I want to do. And also I feel like I don't have people judging what I do. Growing up in Trinidad, you learn very quickly to not care what people say because your family are your biggest critic. I don't know about you or, or where you came from, but it's just, you know, I don't worry about those things. And so as I look forward in my life and I'm thinking that I do not have any children later on in life, I don't regret, how can I say, if I were 30, in my about 38-ish, 36-ish, I was still wanting to have children. But then I hit a point where I was like, no, I definitely don't want to. And now I had these thoughts that I could end up being dead in an apartment for days and no one will know that I'm there. But then also I know I'm gonna be okay. Thank you to one PTA for that. Because I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Someone will find me eventually and life will be good. And so it's just one less thing for me to worry about. And also I feel like I will be okay. So, what does life look like as I grow older and I don't have children? For me, it feels like freedom. I think I talk to folks who are my age and they are concerned about their adult children. And I'm like, mm-mm, 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 no way, no way. I think that once you have kids, you always have your children and parents feel like they're always responsible for their children. I do not have that. Part Partially though, I am learning with my parents. Like I'm now having to parent, but I'm parenting my parents. It's very strange. Very try not to get yourself in this situation. It is very strange. Like I'm having to show them how to like give them boundaries and my mom tests my boundaries and I'm just like as a child tests parents' boundaries, not as a parent tests a child's boundaries. It's very strange. And so yes, I think about it, but I will be okay. And I think you will too if you don't have kids. Uh that's all I have for today. I just wanted to come on and chat about this. Thanks for the inspiration. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.